Welcome back to Not So Obvious Watches. I'm Pete McConville, and today I'd like to talk about something I'm kind of feeling. I don't have any data at all about this. It's just a feeling, what I'm kind of sensing is happening in the kind of YouTube podcast community. And that is what I'm going to call the rehabilitation of quartz. When quartz was first introduced, it was actually something of a wonder material. Pretty much everyone seemed to grasp it. No, I'm not so old, I was there at the time, but reading the articles of the time and everything, it seems like pretty much everyone grabbed this and ran with it. But things changed, and again, I haven't done any research, so I can't even begin to guess why quartz suddenly became the devil's material. I don't know if it was deliberate marketing by those making mechanical watches who were trying to position themselves as something. I don't know if it's inherent in the technology, whether there's something inherently romantic about gears, wheels and springs as opposed to batteries and capacitors. Maybe there's just a sense that quartz is kind of just a bit too easy. It's kind of the cheap and it's kind of cheating your way out. Don't know, but at some point after its introduction, quartz stopped being a wonder material for the production of super accurate, super robust timepieces and became Lucifer's technology. But I'm not sure when, and again, I have no data to back this up, but I'm just feeling that quartz is kind of coming in from the cold. It's being accepted more and more within our little clique of horology kind of folk. Whether it's Joy over at the Time Teller doing some recent pieces on the best quartz pieces ever, Adrian talking about, seriously talking about a quartz piece and his reservations with that, with buying a new piece on Bark and Jack. In the podcast world, quartz is all over the place. The growth of channels or podcasts focusing on kind of the lower end and entry end has really brought a lot of focus and a lot of positive attention to quartz. So the guys from Love and Watches just did a complete episode on quartz. The Two Broke Watch Snobs routinely talk about quartz and quartz watches in a very favourable way. So I think there's a whole bunch going on where quartz is kind of becoming, again, part of an accepted part, a respected part of the watch collecting community. But if you look at the kinds of watches that people talk about, I think there's two types, there's two areas, there's two ways in which quartz can be used and in a way which we regard as acceptable. The first I would say is the genuinely cheap but quite good watch. And the G-Shocks as right in the middle of this. This whole G-Shock community is really based around the idea of what quartz uniquely brings here, which is a really solid, really functional, but quite cheap, quite affordable watch. And the G-Shocks are the center of it, but there's other watches around which also fit this sort of mold. So the Seiko Flightmaster, I think, is something of a YouTube favorite with a certain segment. The Citizen Nighthawk falls into that category as well. Slightly upmarket, but still probably affordable would be things like the Victorinox Inox watches. Again, not incredibly pricey watches. They're generally down the more affordable end, but super robust, lots of functionality, and a place where the unique qualities of quartz really shine through. But quartz has escaped that cheap and cheerful entry end, and it can be used in what would be luxury watches. Some of the examples I'd give there would be things like the Breitling Emergency Series, the Longines VHP, the very high precision pieces, and the Grand Seiko, specifically the ones using the 9F movement. And what's interesting there is, in each of these cases, they're not garden variety quartz movements. These are super quartz, or they come with different names, but they're essentially thermoregulated, specially produced quartz movements where we start talking, plus or minus 5 to 10 seconds per year accuracy. And I think what you see there in both of these cases, both at the low end and the high end, quartz being used for a purpose other than simply making a watch cheap. In both these cases, what you're seeing is the specific, the very precise and specific qualities of quartz being used by the watchmaker for a purpose to make a watch in a very niche way. And I think that is the key. That is how quartz is becoming accepted. It's becoming accepted as a technology for timekeeping and for watch collectors for specific purposes. Not as simply a way as making a normal watch a little bit cheaper. And it was this thought in mind about what kind of quartz or the conditions upon which collectors will kind of accept quartz that I'll now turn to Tag and describe their core problem, which is they're trying to sell plain old everyday cheap-ass quartz movements in watches that would probably be perfectly acceptable with a mechanical watch but at premium prices. So whereas Longines will produce something like the Conquest VHP, which is conquest quality, so certainly matching anything Tag does in its link range, but with a very high precision super quartz movement at maybe $1,000 US. Tag will bring out a link which is essentially in that same class as kind of for the case and accessories, with a much cheaper, much lower grade quartz movement, but then charge $1,500 to $2,000 US, and attempt in some instances try and make up the gap with just adding some bling. That is the reason why I think that I don't know if that's necessarily the reason why Tag is so struggling to rehabilitate its reputation, or whether it's a sign of the problems that Tag has and is really something much deeper about that organization. But the one thing I would suggest to Tag, if anyone from LVMH is listening to me, is dump the cheap ass quartz models. You are not picking up on the quartz zeitgeist at all, the quartz rehabilitation. In fact, you're carefully missing the messages that you've got there. I would suggest you either need to dump the things like the Link quartz altogether, or bite the bullet, find a reason for that watch to be quartz, such as to be particularly robust or particularly accurate. Get something like a VHP, a super quartz movement in there, and then market the quartz for a purpose, not to simply make it fairly plain that you're trying to rip your customers off by foisting off pretty average watches at expensive prices. So anyway, that's it. Very short video today, I think, just talking about quartz and where I think it's coming and going. I'd be interested in your thoughts. Oh, by the way, I should really say, one of the things that got me thinking about this is a new Grand Seiko GMT with the 9F movement is on my list of things I'm looking at. I might be pulling the trigger on one of those this year. My only concern is it's a little bit small. But like, as I said, that did kind of pique my interest and has got me looking at the quartz movements and where I feel about them, and that's kind of what led to this research. But again, interested in your thoughts. Do you think that there's any place for quartz in a serious watch collector's collection? If so, where? If not, why not? What's wrong with this technology when it does bring some very specific benefits to us? As I said, leave comments below. Interested. Anyone who's seen my comment section would see I'm very happy to have a dialogue there. So if you've got questions of substance, comments of substance, I will certainly engage. That's one of the reasons I wanted to do this channel. If you like that, please subscribe. You'll get more content like this. Like this video, and I'll see you later. Thanks very much. Bye.